A dog runs up the hill, looking back, barking at his owner, compelling him forward. The man walks up from behind slowly, his face solemn. He isn't alone. With him is an entire entourage. They are all wearing black. A couple of them are coming up the hill, carrying a large brown. They enter the graveyard on the top of the hill. An area has been cleared out and a pile of freshly dug soil sits beside it. As the funerary rituals commence, the dog nervously whimpers beside his owner, seemingly aware of what's going on. He sniffs the coffin one last time as it's lowered down into the ground. The headstone reads, "Tell a loving wife and sister." The man has tears slowly streaming down the face. The people slowly begin leaving. Soon it's just the man and his dog sitting by the grave. The dog picks up a bouquet of flowers that had fallen out of the funerary arrangement and returns it to the old man. He wipes his face, gets up and places the bouquet back near the headstone. He scratches the scruff of the dog's ear as he starts walking out of the graveyard. The dog follows him out. The man isn't looking back. He can't bear to. A month passes. A similar scene occurs. A funerary procession makes its way up the hill. The dog barks alongside the pallbearers. The old man is nowhere to be seen. As they lower the second coffin right alongside the one from the month before, the dog barks half-heartedly. The epitaph reads, "George, doting husband, reunited at last." The rituals end, but as the people try to coax the dog to come back with them, he barks back in retaliation, stubbornly not moving an inch away from the graves. Not worth the trouble, the others think, as they eventually leave the dog right where he stood. Night is over as the dog sits down, protecting the graves. Thunder roars over in the background. As it starts to pour, the dog stays put. Wet, cold and hungry, the dog howls into the night. As the dog lies down, refusing to budge. A nearby tree starts glowing a pale blue. The glow reflects the mist surrounding it in the rain. The tree shakes slightly. A branch bends over to the graves. The tree covers the dog, trying to protect it from the downpour. It shakes again, dropping fruit from its branch. It wobbles down to the dog's head as it slowly wakes back up, looking at the blue glow of the branch covering it. The dog starts nibbling at the fruit. He eventually falls back asleep, exhausted. The next morning, as the clouds disperse, the caretaker of the grave comes out of his cabin, wanting to go about his morning duties. He notices the dog hunched over beside the graves. He runs over to find the dog shivering, cold but still alive. The dog is carried inside as the caretaker dries him up and nurses him back to health. As the dog recovers, it goes back to the graves. The caretaker, seeing that the dog isn't budging, has to think of an alternative. He goes inside his cabin and returns with an axe. He climbs the tree next to the graves, the same one from the night before. He cuts off the branch hanging dangerously over the graves and drags it back into the cabin. As he leaves, the tree trembles and grunts, or leaves stand up erect. Time passes as the caretaker comes back out of his cabin. He's made a doghouse using the wood from the hanging branch. He places it right next to the grave as the dog slowly inspects it. He sniffs around, suspiciously. Slowly he enters the doghouse. The tree relaxes as it recognizes its wood has been used for a good purpose. Seemingly satisfied, he lies down in the doghouse. The dog dozes off in the shadow of its former owners, lying in the protection of the caretaker and the spirit of the tree. End of part 1.